Visas are frozen and the rules were changed retroactively. 5 years ago, you packed 2 suitcases and left so that your son wouldn't be sent to a place people only come back from in a zinc coffin. And today you received 2 messages in one day. The first one is from Washington. The door you knocked on has started to close. The second one is from Moscow. Come back, we'll forgive everything, we really need you. And here I'd like to pause because this phrase, "we really need you, come back," has already been said before in the history of our shared community. Word for word. I want you to know exactly how things ended for those who heard these words and believed them by the end of this conversation. Not to scare you, but only so that you can see what they simply didn't have time to see. Today I'll lay out the whole picture for you. Why did America suddenly stop issuing visas? Why is Russia suddenly calling back its own people who fled right now? And why these 2 messages? These events aren't coincidences, but rather the same pair of scissors, unfortunately closing on real people. And at the end, I'll tell you the reason behind all of this. Well, the thing that gives hope. Let's start with the facts. Let's try to do it without emotion. Since January 21 of this year, the United States has suspended the issuance of immigrant visas to citizens of 75 countries. Russia, well, it's on that list. That's the official wording. Countries whose immigrants, according to the State Department, too often end up on welfare. At whose expense? At the expense of the American taxpayer. And for now, they say, the procedures are being reassessed. That is, they ended up on welfare too often. And at the end of May, they added another one. Now, those whose asylum case, that's Form I-589, is just sitting and waiting, they have to pay $102 a year, every year until the case is resolved. If you don't pay within 30 days after the notice, boom, the application just gets rejected. And the lawyers who handle these cases speak very frankly. Russian applicants are now basically not even allowed to go through the asylum procedure. Now let me translate that from legalese to plain language. If you're already here, already waiting for a year or two, living in a state of uncertainty, the rules have changed right under your feet. They changed them when you had already, well, bet everything on the previous rules. You were building a house on land that was retroactively reassigned right under you. Here's the first thing I want to say. Please remember it during our conversation. When the authorities, good, bad, any kind, whether over there or here, change the rules for people who have already made their move and can't take it back, it's always a blow to those who are weaker, not to the wealthy investor with 3 passports, for example. It's to the family with 1 suitcase and 1 hope. I'm not going to judge American policy here. That's a separate, actually a very big conversation. I don't want to rush it. I want you to see the mechanics. The way in is narrowing. Remember this word, narrowing. We'll need it in a minute when we look at the second door, and it's narrowing because of those people who arrived before you, and they decided they were very smart, and they started milking the United States government, well, to the maximum. Oh, and you can actually get that too. Just write that you're a chuchmek, without a passport or anything else, without a head. Americans got tired of this. Only for those who have already done this. So they can't pressure them, but they can hit those who came after them, like you. Around these same weeks, something else became known. Russia has started a hunt. A real organized hunt for IT specialists, for engineers, for those very professionals who left. Return programs are being launched, targeted, specific, aimed exactly at those who were recently called traitors and fugitives. Well, and there they find words to call those who abandon their homeland. And here I want to ask, wait a minute. These are the very same people whom you yourselves pushed out with your own hands. Well, how did it happen? This is how it turned out. And this may be the most important part of today's conversation, so listen carefully, gentlemen. A state that for decades suppresses the intelligent, the dissenters, those who ask too many questions. This state sooner or later ends up without those who ask questions, That is, without smart people. First, one generation leaves. The ones who knew how to create and how to teach, the teachers leave. And once the teachers are gone, there's no one to pass on the craft to the next generation. Few actually achieve anything. Those who do succeed through their own effort, despite the odds. Now imagine what a person like that feels. Someone who fought their way to mastery on their own, without any support. You start the war, they might come for him. What? So does that mean he'll just throw his talent away just like that? For what? Of course he's packing his suitcase, and the last, most valuable, most rare layer is leaving. And what you get is a vacuum. First, the creators were pushed out, then education was traded away, then the self-taught left. And one fine day, the government looks around. Oops, oops. There's no one left to build. Specialist shortages are impacting factories, servers, and defense industries. Everything starts to creak, and then suddenly a gentle voice calls out, "We love you. We are waiting for you. Come back." Do you feel what happened? They had been slamming the exit door shut for years, and now they've thrown it wide open. Not because they started to love you, but because they had to. Who had to? You. But they had to, and suddenly you became their favorites. And here a brief digression. Without it, the picture just wouldn't come together. Why right now? Why didn't this gentlest voice in the world make itself heard this summer? A year ago, 3 years ago. Look at what's happening at the front. Ukraine is outplaying Russia in the air. In that very drone war that no one took seriously until recently. June 6th. A massive strike, not on the border area but on military targets, right near St. Petersburg, on the base in Kronstadt. Plus an oil depot in the Krasnodar region. Over 500 kilometers deep. Russia reports that it shot down, what they say, 400 or almost 400 drones overnight. But think about that number. They had to shoot down 400 to repel the attack, and even then they didn't repel all of them. So how many then? So over 500 kilometers more than 400 came in. Well, at this very moment, there's an economic forum taking place in Petersburg, the one they like to call Putin's Davos. It's a showcase, a celebration of stability, and right in the middle of this showcase, a burning oil depot in the newsfeed. Zelensky sends an open letter with a proposal to meet, and in response, he gets the word rudely, and a refusal for a direct conversation. So this is a country whose showcase is on fire, whose front needs hands, brains, engineers, programmers. But for those same drones and defense systems, such a country starts to get nervous. And in this nervousness, they do what they always do. They turn back to those they themselves kicked out, and they speak sweetly. Come on, stop sulking. What's the point of sulking? Come on, make up. Come home. Yeah, home? They really need it. And they're very gentle. In normal life, when someone who has despised you for years suddenly becomes soft and generous, it's exactly at the moment when they desperately need you. You already know what that's called, right? I won't finish the sentence. You finished it yourself. And here I'll pause for half a minute, not for an ad, but to point you somewhere. What we just talked about, why the authorities, who put pressure on people, end up impoverishing themselves. Why is freedom always more profitable as well? This isn't just a slogan, it's a working law, like the law of gravity. Yes, maybe you can't calculate it exactly, but you know for sure an apple falls down from the tree unless you apply some force to it so it flies sideways or upwards. I'm breaking down this law to the core, calmly, down to the roots. So, on the second channel, it's the roadmap to freedom. There are 2 episodes a week there. They're for those who like to think, not just watch. If after today's conversation you want to understand not only what's happening, but also why it's set up this way, why it always happens, check it out, and we're coming back because now comes the most important part. I promised you at the beginning that I would show you how this very gentle, sly, I would even say, voice ended, which can already be heard. First, about the label. Before calling them back, Russia declared these same people foreign agents or traitors to the motherland. If you said it wasn't you, you're an agent, a traitor. If you wrote that war is bad, you're an agent, a traitor. If you help those who left, you're an agent, a traitor. It's a stigma under which a person is pushed out of their profession, out of the country, out of any opportunity, out of the very possibility to breathe. Out of the country where they were born, and now, pay attention, the same people with the same stigma are being invited back. Well, come back, please, work for us. First you were called an enemy. They tried to crush you. They tried to spit in your face. They tried to turn all your friends and acquaintances and society against you and so on. And now suddenly you are a valuable asset. The same person. They changed. Not you, not them. Only one thing changed. They suddenly needed something. And yet, mind you, they didn't stop putting pressure on you. Those who left keep saying that you shouldn't say things the Kremlin doesn't like, so to speak. That is, say what the Kremlin doesn't like. They keep being persecuted. They reach them via relatives or friends who stayed there. Through the local community where their people gather, they invite them home to us in a friendly way while also pressuring their loved ones that you didn't say anything while living abroad. This isn't exactly love, ladies and gentlemen. This is a hunt, which has bait and a trap. The bait is a sweet voice, the trap, everything else. Let me explain what I mean, a bit of history, because all of this has happened before, exactly the same way. In the 1920s and 1930s, exactly 100 years ago. So, among Russian immigrants, there was an organization with a warm name, the Union for Returning to the Homeland. To those homesick, they were told, the homeland asked and forgave. It devours. The homeland waits. It devours and waits.
Жрет.
Come, build a new life, many believed, and they went. Let's take probably the most famous family. So Sergei Fron, the husband of the great poetess Marina Tsvetaeva, he believed, and began helping that return effort. He returned to the Soviet Union. After a short time, he was executed. Their daughter Ariadna, talented, bright, also returned to camps for many years. Tsvetaeva herself, arriving later in evacuation, driven to the edge, took her own life. One family, one decision, to return, and 3 shattered lives. Composer Sergei Prokofiev, a world-class figure. He returned. His wife Lena was immediately arrested and sent to a camp. For 8 years. For what? For that. And now about the TSIPs, because they are scarier than any name, and any names, Russians from Harbin. A whole community. Engineers, railroad workers, educated people, skilled people. They lived in Manchuria. They were also called back. They were also promised. Those who returned were caught up in the so-called Harbin operation. The late 1930s. Tens of thousands arrested. Thousands were executed. A whole community of specialists was lured. And they were crushed. And after World War II, the largest one, according to the agreements of that time, about 2 million people were returned to the USSR. Some by persuasion and some by force. Former prisoners, those who were taken away, refugees, and a huge number of them were not taken home from the train station, to camps, to the Gulag, and some were executed right there so they wouldn't have to be taken far. Among those forced were also those who had been firmly promised safety, for example, the Cossacks. Whole families, they were hanged by the ataman. Do you see the pattern? Every time it's the same scenario. First, a warm voice. Come back. You are needed. But we have forgiven everything. Then the train, then the camp. Then, for a large enough number, the end. Look, I'm not saying that today it will be exactly the same, word for word. Of course, at first you'll be allowed to work because it's a different time now, thank God. But I'm talking about a parity, about the way they operate, the authorities who first call you an agent. Then a valuable asset, exactly when they need you. But that's exactly the pattern. There's one more detail. You can't ignore it. They will definitely promise you that you won't be drafted into the army. They'll give you their word. I'd even say they'll swear up and down. Here's the thing. Someone already changed the rules retroactively once. Someone who has already called you an enemy. Well, his promise is worth exactly as much as his signature. Exactly that much. And we just saw what it's worth. They can promise they won't draft you. And then draft you. Easily. For a regime like that, there's no wall between these two actions. None at all. Now let's put the two doors together, the one at the very beginning and this one. On one side, the entrance is narrowing. It's become harder to get where you wanted. Visas are frozen, fees, refusals. On the other hand, the way back has been thrown wide open. The entrance back. The exit, I don't even know what to call it. And they're enticing you with a sweet voice. And real people got caught in that squeeze. They have nowhere to go, tired, vulnerable, without any status. And now someone is whispering in his ear, "Why are you suffering in a foreign land? You have a home. You have a homeland. You are needed. They're waiting for you. This is the trap." Not because evil Washington conspired with Moscow, no, but because two different pressures accidentally converged on the same vulnerable point. That's why I put together the whole picture for you today, so that if you ever find yourself in this situation, you see not just one message on your phone, but both. And the whole story behind them. It's easiest to lure a person when they only see the bait and don't see the trap. And now you see both. Notice one thing which in this grim story is actually about hope. Why is the government even forced today to ask, persuade, and promise to turn on a sweet voice because you are needed by them, and not the other way around? All the power of those who oppress has relied for centuries on one thing, that people have nowhere to go. There's nothing to choose, but the world has changed. Today, a specialist, a master, a thinking person is not just a cog that can be ground down and replaced with new ones from the same village. There are no new ones and nowhere to get them. Production stopped right when the teachers were pushed out. And now it turns out that the real value is in people. The value is in you, your mind, your hands, your skills, and you can't take it away by force. It leaves with you across any border. You can't search you and seize it from you or say, "You leave, but we'll keep this here." That's the turning point. Before, people were driven out and they went. Today, people are invited and they have the opportunity to choose. This is a huge, quiet, but enormous revolution that few have noticed. The situation is no longer dictated by the one with the gun. More and more often, it is decided by the one who has knowledge, skill, and the right opportunity. You could say, "No, thank you, thank you, just no." My advice for today, not out of fear, but out of strength. Don't trust the sweet voice that becomes gentle exactly when you are needed. Remember the trains that didn't go home, but don't despair over the closed doors at the entrance here. Doors open and lock. They close. This is the market. This is politics. This is a wave. This is a pattern. The main thing will stay with you, what you know how to do. You are a free person who makes your own choices. Those who tried to take us back to the 30s are long gone. But the songs, poems, and music of those whom they lured out and destroyed, today the whole world listens to them. Evil rushes and loses. Evil loses in the long run. And a person who stays true to themselves and their freedom, they win. Not always quickly, but they always win. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and don't give away to anyone for any price the only thing that truly belongs to you, yours. Your right to choose. That's probably all, yes, but if you want, next time I'll show you not what to run from, but what to move toward. How exactly a free person and a free market outplay any force that rules with an iron fist time and time again. Go ahead and tell me in the comments, and also check out the Roadmap to Freedom. It's a separate channel. The conversation there already goes into more depth. Goodbye. See you next time.